Welcome, welcome. Come in, have a seat, and enjoy another Commoner deck tech video with me. The hero we're playing, Prism, plays a very special role in this week's deck. Or rather, she doesn't. At all. There might be some fringe cases when we want to use her ability, but in 99.9% of the matches we play, she's basically a hero without an ability. I think in Commoner in general you can consider Prism to be a light illusionist poster girl, simply giving you access to light and illusionist cards. But having said that, we really don't need her to do anything else, because that already enables us to have really high damage turns, since illusionist attacks sport rather high damage output for a low cost, with the downside of having Phantasm in return. This is a go tall build, meaning that we only want to play 1 to 2 attacks per turn, but we want to buff them with actions and reactions to maximize our damage output. Don't be afraid to spend some turns just blocking to set up huge damage turns in return. We are of course at a disadvantage against heroes with a lot of 6+ damage attacks, but I tried my best to build this deck so that we still have a fighting chance against them, even if it's slim. After all, it is really hard to manage in Commoner. Whew, a lot of rambling again. Now let me go off topic just a little bit to say thank you very much, because once again we've hit my set milestone of 50 subscribers pretty fast. Admittedly, we were pretty close already. But that doesn't take away from the gratitude I feel towards you for subscribing. Now for the next milestone. Let's aim a bit higher this time and even add a little modifier to it, so to say. I want to see if we can hit 100 subscribers by the end of February. So if you enjoy what you see and want more budget blitz and Commoner deck techs for kitchen table play, then consider subscribing and liking the video, because there will be more coming your way. And now let's get to it. Prism has 4 intelligence and 20 health. As I mentioned earlier, we won't be using her ability, but we'll be going over it nonetheless. Who knows, there might be a 1 in a million case when it saves our lives. It's a once per turn instant, we can pay 2 resources and banish a card from Prism's soul to create a spectral shield token. It's an illusionist aura that will prevent 1 damage that any source would deal to us, but it will be destroyed in the process. The weapon we're using is Talishar, the Lost Prince, a generic weapon that can swing for 4 damage. It has a once per turn action. We can pay 2 resources and put a rust counter on Talishar to attack. At the beginning of our end phase, if it has 3 or more rust counters on it, Talishar is destroyed. Our head equipment is Ironhide Helm. If we defend with it, we can pay 1 resource to give it 2 block value. The oldie but goldie, Hardened Crossstrap is our chest armor. We can destroy it to make the next attack action card we play this turn cost 2 less. Go again. Another auto include in this deck is Goliath Gauntlet. We can destroy it to give the next attack action card with cost 2 or more we play this turn, plus 2 attack. Go again. And Ironhide Legs is basically the same as the Helm, so we can pay 1 resource while blocking to give it 2 defense. Other armor to switch in depending on the circumstances are Halo of Illumination. We can pay 1 resource and destroy it to put a card from our hand into Prism's soul. If it's a light card, we can draw a card. It has Spell Void 2 as well. Nullrune Rope, simply because it has Arcane Barrier 1. Dreamweavers can help us out if we run into heroes with a lot of attacks that trigger Phantasm. They read Destroy Dreamweavers. The next illusionist attack action card you play this turn loses and can't gain Phantasm. Go again. It also has Spell Void 1. And Silent Stilettos help us out in that regard as well, as they read, whenever an attacking ally you control dies or an attack action card you control is destroyed by Phantasm, you may pay 3 resources. If you do, destroy Silent Stilettos and gain 1 action point. Like Nullrune Rope, it has Arcane Barrier 1. Now, before we look at any card in particular, so I don't have to repeat myself, every illusionist card has Phantasm, blocks for 3, and every generic card, other than a certain instant, blocks for 2. Since this is a go tall build, let's actually take a look at the actions and reactions that will help us achieve that first. We play all versions of Pummel, which costs 2 to play. The second mode is of course what we're after in this deck. Target attack action card with cost 2 or greater gains +4 attack, and if this hits, the defending hero discards a card. We have 20 attacks that cost 2 resources, so there are a lot of targets for this. The The red Slogism costs 3 to play and gives the next attack action card with cost 2 or more we play this turn a staggering +6 attack. Go again. While that is it for the actual buffs, I thought to myself, how can we sort of emulate the same vibe differently to sort of keep going tall? And I thought that Lead the Charge fits the bill quite nicely. We play the yellow and blue versions of this 0 cost card that reads: the next time you play an action card with costs 1 or 2 in case of the blue version, or greater this turn, gain 1 action point. We most likely need to have a card in arsenal and a 4 card hand in order to play a second attack and go tall, but the damage output will be worth it. And since we gain an action point when playing an action card, we can even circumvent the phantasm of our illusionist attacks to still be able to attack again. And somewhat still in the same vein, as we switch over to the attacks we play, let's take a look at the red Spears of Surreality. For 1 resource it deals 5 damage and has Go Again. So for 3 resources we can play this, Go Again, and slam a big 2 cost attack in after it, still going tall. The yellow and blue Wartune Heralds cost 1 as well and hit for either 6 or 5 damage respectively. If it does hit, we put it into Prism's Soul. These attacks enable us to use Lead the Charge even with only 4 available cards instead of the aforementioned 5, at least if we have a blue to pitch. Now for all our 2 cost attacks. See what I did there? Now I don't have to repeat the resource cost. Amazing! Let's start with the red Cadaverous Contraband. It has 6 attack and if it hits we may put a non-attack action card from our graveyard on top of our deck. So not only can it trigger Phantasm on our opponent's cards should they play an Illusionist, but it also helps us recover our attack buffs, for example. The red and blue Herald of Protection deal either 7 or 5 damage respectively, and if they hit, they're put into Prism's Soul, and we even create a Spectral Shield token to basically give us 1 additional health point. We play all colors of Herald of Ravages, which comes in for either 5, 6 or 7 damage. If they hit, they're put into Prism's Soul, and we even get to deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. And with that, allow me to go off on a little tangent about how much potential damage a single attack can deal in this deck. While playing this deck last time I was 1 resource short, but it got me thinking. I had a red Pummel in arsenal and kept my chest and arms armor up. My hand consisted of a red Slogism, a red Herald of Ravages, a blue card and unfortunately a red card, but for this argument let's imagine it was a yellow or blue. So now we destroy Hardened Crosstrap and Goliath Gauntlet to make Herald of Ravages cost 0 to play and give it +2 attack. This works by the way because the Gauntlet only cares about the printed resource cost on the card. Then we play Slogism to give it +6 attack. Finally we actually play good old Ravaging Harry, which now attacks for 15. And since we still have a card that pitches for at least 2 or 3 resources in our hand, we can add a red Pummel in our reaction phase to have it deal 19 damage plus 1 arcane damage if it hits. Just a cool little 20 damage turn, no biggie. Now back to the actual deck tech. The next attack is the red Stony Wooton Hawk, if it's pronounced that way. Another attack that can trigger Phantasm because it swings for 6. If it is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it has +1 attack. Another way to get as many cards out of our opponent's hands as possible. The blue Herald of Rebirth has 5 attack. If it hits, it's put into Prism's Soul and we get to put up to 1 card with Phantasm from our graveyard on top of our deck. And our last attacks are the yellow and blue Brothers in Arms that have either 5 or 4 attack. I really like to put this card into resource heavy decks. If we don't need it, we can pitch it for either 2 or 3, or we use it for its defensive ability. By paying 1 resource while blocking, it gets +2 block value for a total of 4. If we've pitched a yellow or a blue, we can use the remaining resources for our Ironhide armor or, watch this segue, our last card and only instant in this deck. The yellow Oasis Respite costs 1 resource to play and prevents the next 3 damage that a source of our choice would deal. If we have less life than our opponent, we may even gain 1 life. And that's it for my Prism Smash deck, or whatever you wanna call it really. It can be a waiting game sometimes while we block out attacks, but As I've illustrated during my rant, the comeback can be huge. As always, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and I hope to see you in the next deck tech video. Take care.